What's up, everybody? Matt Kajeski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel. And today I'm here to talk about some college basketball betting. It is Saturday, January the 14th, and we have a massive slate of games. We'll get into some of our favorite bets, but before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. If you're listening on podcast, please leave a rating and review there too. That helps a ton. So thank you if you've done that. And one last note, our sponsor, DraftKings, has a phenomenal offer for you guys that I want to tell you about before we even get started. Right now, if you head over to DraftKings, their sportsbook, they have a limited time offer. It's only good through February 12th, where you deposit at least $5 and then you place a $5 wager on anything you want. And that $5 is automatically going to turn into $200, whether the bet wins or not. Again, you can take advantage of this by heading to DraftKings Sportsbook or even just clicking the link in the video description below. And the legal age for gambling in most states is 21 plus. If you are someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Make sure to check out DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, let's dive into a couple of these games. We'll keep this relatively short, give some of the favorite plays. Of course, we have our insider access Discord if you want even more games than this. But we're going to lead things off with an ACC matchup. Pittsburgh takes on Georgia Tech. Took this -4. I think this is going to move through -5. I'm seeing 4.5 in some spots. I wouldn't be surprised if this is through 5 by the time you're watching it. But I think that 5 number is still okay and probably where I would stop. The biggest thing here for Georgia Tech, they're dealing with a lot of health issues. So immediately I think you have Pitt as value. And that's not the only reason why. We'll dive into stylistics too. But just kind of to lay out the injury situation. It's actually sickness is running through their team, not injury. Their coach came right out and said that Devion Smith and Javon Franklin are sick, and they're both doubtful for this game, which I think is key language. He didn't use game time decision, nothing like that. Straight up said doubtful. Now, Devion Smith is their usage leader, and you look back at Franklin, he just played 45 minutes in an overtime game. Smith played 36 in that same game. We're talking about impactful players here. And then they also had one of their forwards, Jalen Moore, miss their most recent game with an undisclosed issue. In his 2 previous games, he'd played 22 and 20 minutes. So you can tell this Georgia Tech team is pretty thin. For Pittsburgh, they don't have John Hughley, but that's honestly nothing new at this point. He hasn't played for most of the year. So let's dive into the stylistics. You look at efficiency really across the board, offensive and defensive efficiency. Pittsburgh has massive advantages here. This Panthers team is 66th in offensive efficiency. Georgia Tech is 208th on defense. Pitt is 118th. Georgia Tech is 144th. You look at size. This isn't an advantage that Georgia Tech has either. Pittsburgh's 39th in rebounding. Georgia Tech is 126th. So there's a ton of stylistic advantages here. And if you even look at effective height, Pittsburgh is 52nd. That's without Hughley too. And Georgia Tech is 238th. So you've got rebounding advantages, massive size advantages. Pittsburgh should dominate on the interior. This team is 64th in 2-point percentage. Georgia Tech does not defend the interior well, 160th in interior defense. And I also have a lot of questions about Georgia Tech's resume. To my knowledge, they have one quality win this year that came against Miami. It was a 76-70 win, and Miami shot 16% from 3. To be exact, they shot 15.5%. On the year, Miami ranks 35th in effective field goal percentage, so you can tell that was an outlier towards the negative end for Miami in that game. Otherwise, every single chance they've had to step up in competition, they failed. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh actually has a couple quality wins here. You look at, like, some of these I think are going to finish as like Q2, Q3 wins, but they beat Northwestern resoundingly, beat NC State by 8, Syracuse, beat North Carolina by 2. That's a good win. I'd have healthier North Carolina. Baycott played in that game. And then they beat Virginia by 3. Those are quality wins. They've had one of the more difficult schedules in the conference this year. So I'm back in Pitt, expecting this to continue moving through tip-off, but we'll go to the Panthers. Second game, we're going to back another favorite. We're going to head to the SEC for this one. And I think this is a buy low situation on the Razorbacks in Arkansas. Seeing 4.5s out there, seeing this move through 5 in some spots. Now, Arkansas is not the healthiest team in the country right now, but fortunately, they're very deep. They haven't had Nick Smith or Trevon Brazile. That's not actually new for them either. So, I mean, we've seen this Arkansas team play without them for a while. So I think we kind of know what we're getting. With Vandy, you have a team that does play with some size, and Vandy's inside the top 50 in effective height. That's how they've actually won a lot of their games, playing through the interior. Liam Robbins, when he's not fouling, is a very good player for this team. And Arkansas is 119th in effective height. I think Vandy on paper has a rebounding edge and a size advantage. For rebounding, they're 49th. Arkansas is 100th. But I also think Arkansas is really deep, and Arkansas kind of has a lineup that's variable to certain matchups. They can kind of decide who they want to use on the floor. Like right now, they're playing the Mitchell brothers a lot. These players weren't even expected to play much for this team. Their point guard, Devo Davis, is 6'4". So, I mean, this team, Council and Black are both sizable players at the 2 and 3. Their lineup's definitely not small. So I don't think the size advantage really works in Vandy's favor in this spot. And then stylistically, like Arkansas is the much better team. They're an awesome defensive team, 13th in the country in defensive efficiency. Vanderbilt's 143rd. Arkansas also has the advantage in offense. They're 110th there. Vandy is 123rd. And what does Vandy try to do on offense? Well, they shoot a lot of threes, so they don't even use their size all that well at times. They're 46th in three-point attempts. This team is horrible at shooting them, though. They're 239th in three-point percentage. And more importantly, Arkansas is 40th in perimeter defense. This is an excellent defensive team, and they defend the three very well. You dive into resume, I think this is similar to like the Pittsburgh-Georgia Tech dichotomy, where Vanderbilt, in my opinion, has 2 quality wins this year. One was against Temple. They won in overtime. The other was against Pitt. That was a 1-point victory. Meanwhile, Arkansas has only lost to the really good teams. They lost by 3 to Creighton, lost by 3 to LSU, lost to Auburn pretty resoundingly, but there's some noise there, and I want to dive into that. And then we just saw them lose to Alabama, 84-69. We reference shot quality a lot in these videos, and if you haven't heard of shot quality, they are basically run analytics on the game and try to predict the outcomes of them. So basically, priority to shots at the rim and from 3. And Arkansas has greatly underachieved based on what they put on the floor. The Alabama game was the right outcome. Alabama should have won, but the margin of victory should have been closer. Shot quality had the score 82-75 rather than the actual score of 84-69. And then a game like the Auburn game, so Arkansas loses 72-59. Shot quality actually had Arkansas beating Auburn 80-72. So there's a lot of positive regression coming for this Razorbacks team. They're on the road here. That's important. But almost everything stylistically matches up in their favor, not to mention flat out, no doubt, they're the more talented team on the court. Last one here, we're going to back a dog to close things out. We're going to stick in the SEC, and we're going to talk some greasy Georgia Bulldogs taking on Ole Miss. Right now, you can find Georgia +5, and I think that +5 is important. I would not take it at +4.5. Both these teams have been pretty greasy this year. We're talking about 2 awful shooting teams. Georgia is a little bit better. That's not saying a ton here. Some slower teams Mississippi plays below average in terms of pace. But breaking this down stylistically, you have a slight height advantage to Georgia, which is a bit surprising. They're 85th in effective height. Ole Miss is 139th. That's saying a lot because Ole Miss tries to play through their interior to some degree. But Georgia should have a rebounding advantage here. Effective field goal percentage for both these teams. Georgia's 235th. Ole Miss is 280th. So you actually have a shooting advantage to Georgia. And, despite this team shooting poorly from the field, a lot of that has come in the paint. They're actually not a terrible team from 3. They rank 147th in three-point percentage. That's about the midpoint in the country. Ole Miss cannot defend the 3. They're actually really good at defending the interior, but they rank 187th in perimeter defense, which is fine. Georgia doesn't score well on the interior anyway. I would rather them shoot more threes here and actually play to their strengths. This is going to be really greasy, though. Both teams turn the ball over a ton. I think if it gets to a fouling situation, Georgia has a massive advantage. They're 92nd in free throw percentage. Mississippi, poor shooting team, they're 232nd. That kind of makes sense when everything adds up here. And then resume, who has Ole Miss beaten this year that's a quality win? Most of the teams they've played that are quality, they've lost to. They did lose to Tennessee and Oklahoma, each by 4 points. That's fine. But they've also gotten blown out essentially by all of their other quality wins. They have a loss to North Alabama, who's Ken Palm's 309th ranked team. Their only quality win is against Florida Atlantic. Meanwhile, Georgia has actually beaten some solid teams in the SEC. They beat Auburn. They just beat Mississippi State. They have close losses to Florida and non-con to Georgia Tech and Wake Forest. It's a buy low situation on Georgia right now for a new coaching staff that actually has this team performing above expectation. So we'll back the Bulldogs plus 4.5. But that'll do it for the Odd Shopper channel and for myself today. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. If there's any other games you like, we have a ton of them on the slate. We'll certainly be betting more. And hit the thumbs up button, subscribe on the way out. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Matt_Kajeski, always talking college hoops over there. And until next time, we'll see you guys later. Good luck.